Howdy.
So we are Team 3 presenting Assignment 3. Unofficially, our name is Team HAGHT, or HOT, derived from our last names. I'm Philip Hammond, the team leader.
I'm Leslie Hammond. I'm Pradaksha Gauri. I'm Savannah Haney. I'm Utah.
So to introduce the site, it's a 60-acre lease from Texas A&M University to Midway, and it's on College Avenue and University Drive. To properly address the site, we have to take into account the Quadruple Net Value which Midway used to develop the site. It takes into account the four factors of social, cultural, economic, environmental, and sensory. Using these, we can kind of better understand how Century Square will affect the local community, the costs and financial factors that come into play when developing the site, but also long-term, as well as the environmental opportunities for green implementations and sustainability, and how the landscape will affect visitors when they come into the site. And then finally, the sensory will be the most subjective but highly determinant on repeat visitations, which altogether result in the return on perception. Here's our intro video.
From an investment strategy standpoint, I think that's the value is you shift the conversation from talking about renting space to talking about renting or delivering a place. And that's a different conversation.
Right there, right in the center. So a big effort from a development standpoint is preserving as many trees as possible.
My name is Leslie, and I did the social and cultural aspects of it that are basically the design, like human interaction and stuff of the site. Those are the ones that I'll talk about. So for safety and security, the main focus was the largest crime rate in College Station is theft, which mainly would impact like retail and residences the most. So those have been obviously like the focus to design against crime in the area. Design for safety includes like the lighting plans, a lot of like varied lighting, and then perceived security, open green areas, and then up-to-date automated systems like alarms, mainly for the retail and the residences. And then also no secluded exterior corridors or dead ends that leaves wide open space to go around that. Great security personnel and well-informed business owners. And then also different plans and conditions for events and crowds, which may be like more in the future, depends on like the different event staff that I'll talk about more for like evacuated routes. This shows an example of the city center, which shows like how bright it is, like no matter what time of day or what time of night, and then also this affects like the walkability and then feeling of safety for users, which makes them come back. And then also longer stay patterns, which is more affected by like open green areas that people feel that they can just stay and hang out and then feel safe in this environment. public access. This shows the different, or the estimated percentages of access to the site. The north and then also the west will primarily be like the main access points. And then from what I found, because I was looking for different routes or different modes of transportation, but only 5% of travel is thought to be bicycle in the future. And then right now there's no bus stops, but they will add one. And then their website just says like to keep updated for when that'll be added for the A&M one. The evacuation routes would most likely be towards like the green areas in like the north and the west, basically away from the busy streets. And then this is just a better site plan showing the pedestrian walkways, just the amount of sidewalks, and then even like on the main road on the bottom of University, how they expanded that for greater access to the site. I like that this site plan just shows like the interconnectivity between like the very wide open spaces like once you get onto the site, which really goes for their more urban atmosphere. Health on the site really would depend probably on like community events and the public green spaces. Air quality improvements weren't really talked about, but also just having like open ventilation, and then depends on like the chosen materials based on like energy savings. And also to further the pedestrian proximity to facility waste, which those areas aren't really identified right now on the site plan of like where dumpsters would be or where like service vehicles would come, but ideally those would be further away from pedestrians. And then also, as the video mentioned, like City Center has up to like 500 events per year. So a big part of health would be like how efficient like post-event cleanup would be to restore the site back to like its cleanliness. For education, obviously a big opportunity is A&M, and then also I think really like all the local schools in Bryan College Station, because it's just a growing community. And then in the picture shows City Center, where I think like that type of event and interaction and stuff could really be done like here at Century Square. And then also part of the education would be on site, like once people are there and plan to stay a while. Placemaking and signage for well-informed users was part of the design, I think, in the architectural requirements, which will all be followed by the retail and restaurants. Public visitation could also depend on the opportunities taken for the programs or events that might happen, but there are a lot of, there's like 2 acres of green space, and then also there's plenty of like retail space or the hotels to be rented out for events, even like during the summer and stuff, not just like based off A&M. So most likely the first opening where we would see like the greatest public visitation would be for maybe December graduation, where I'm sure like hotels would already be like rented out for the system. Residential proximity, when looking, so whenever you're looking at like what's in like 10-minute walking distance, there's like all the different apartment units that exist, including the new 100 Park, which is focused more on like changing the type of residential for 21 and up, and then drawing a different crowd. The gardens exist behind the site, and then also North Point Crossing has over 650 apartment units. And within, so here's a map, shows it better, like the 5-minute walking distance and 10-minute walking distance. Right now there's no designated dog parks, but there are a lot of like green space, as you can see, like to the northwest and then like on campus right there, for like the other fields that are right there across. And then also within walking distance are just religious institutions. So currently what I found was it has only a walkability score of 54, but I'm expecting that Century Square will greatly increase this walkability score and then really have a lot of people just park somewhere and then able to walk within all those things like within 10 minutes.
Then, also related to proximity, there are 3 art studios nearby Century Square that could play a part in the future. There's Benjamin Knox Art Gallery, the D Gallery, and of course Tambu's very own liberal arts building. The site plan didn't have any places for existing art yet, but perhaps in the future there'll be galleries and outdoor events or presentations by Texas A&M of students' work. It's just an idea for Midway, but hopefully we'll see more public art to play into the local community of the site. Then, as we've all noticed already, that Century Square will be a major walkable site, but it's also ADA compliant and has several accessible routes. The Tambu bus stops plan to have 2 stops there, which will allow students to leave Century Square, go to campus, come back. And the idea, which Jonathan BRINSDEN mentioned when he came to visit, was that you park once, you stay there the whole time you're here in College Station, and you can walk anywhere you want to go, and only get back in your car when you're leaving.
So I will be talking about the economic value aspect of the Century Square project, and it would include property data, revenues, conceptualization and design value, construction value, operations and management, real estate transactions, or investment adjacent. Century Square is an exciting mixed-use destination adjacent to Texas A&M University. It's around 60 acres, and their approach has been to make it more of medium density, so that over the course of years it is still walkable, and to experience a walkable urban destination. The project features premier retail and restaurant establishments like the George and the Cavalry Court, which are boutique hotels themselves. Entertainment venues, 90,000 square feet of Class A office, 2 full-service hotels, apartment homes, 100 park, and activated central gathering space. The first phase of development is expected to be delivered in the fall of 2016. So, looking at the rough facts about Bryan College Station area is, the Bryan College Station's permanent 2014 population is 202,000. The number of visitors from Texas A&M University will draw 1.6 million visitors in the next year. And Bryan College Station permanent residents have a true household income of 88,984, whereas the top 25% has around 127,000 approximately, which clearly says that they have a large opportunity to cater to the market which has disposable income. And we'll be talking about that further in the opportunities. So the components of the project are the George and the Cavalry Court, which have around 115,000 square feet of area. There's office and retail and restaurant. There's theater and entertainment. There's 100 park, plaza, and parking. So the total gross area approximately is 720,000, 20,600, which would help us in calculating the rates later. And about the property value specifically, the total improvement non-home site value, this data has been gathered from various sources such as Browser Stat Search, BIS Consultants, Property Shark, and Browser's Tax Report, and S3 Maps Tax Report. So this particular data has not been received from Midway Companies themselves. So the total improvement non-home site value is 6,456,820. And the total land non-home site value is 44,939,100. Total market value is approximately 51 million, which is the same as the appraised value and the assessed value. When we come to the conceptualization and design value, the strategy was because College Station is one of the strongest college town hotel markets in the southeastern US. So they wanted to propose something like this. And the market is crying for a new upscale property in the words of Vice President John Keating himself. The market is crying for a new upscale property. The hotel inventory there is either very old or limited service hotels. Our new hotels will attract corporate leisure and group business from the very dynamic College Station Bryan market. And it is one of the fastest growing cities in the US, which is evolving at a vibrant 24-hour rate. Additionally, its close proximity to Texas A&M campus presents an ideal opportunity for businesses to tap into the intellectual capital of the Texas A&M University and the students and the faculty. So with adaptable spaces for biome, tech and professional services, and energy efficient design and robust capacity to handle a high volume of data and communication equipment, Century Square is set to be a true enterprise hub for companies. So they are catering to the student population, they are catering to the disposable income category of people with high-end boutique hotels like the Gallery and the George, the Gallery Court and the George. And so the fee for planning and conceptual design was calculated on the basis of $8 square feet. This rate was given by Bryson Grover, who is the associate for development team at Midway Companies. And so it's calculated with the gross building area and it comes around $5 million. And the fees for design of the project is again based on the same rate. The construction value, the number of jobs which are created during the construction, the construction of the project are 600 plus. This is just the current employment data that they have. This project will improve employment opportunities in the sector of administrative support, office, and IT and professional services, hospitality, etc. later on when it's completed. And the total construction value is around roughly 105 million. And the number of jobs created to operate and maintain the project on an annual basis is 45 plus. So, like I said earlier, their agenda was basically, identifying the opportunities and the challenges. The opportunities that they saw was an undeserved market. College Station and Bryan together as Walkability, they don't have a project or a city center sort of development which caters to a large and different group of people. There is disposable income, there is a high value of household income, but then there is no output for that category of people to spend it. So this is a big opportunity for Midway Companies in the sector. And it is a regional destination. Let's just say like the George and the Gallery Court themselves are boutique hotels, so they're going to be a destination place themselves. And the restaurants and entertainment, you have big brands as the Capitol Grill and opening up in Anthropology and Lululemon opening up in this center. The challenges faced were perception because at this point of time, the College Station area might not really need a project like this, but they are projecting their economic growth over a period of like 20 years or 40 years. So it's very viable and feasible in that sense. It's skewed demographics, but they have worked on this challenge by having different projects like the 100 Park, which may give residential place for the students and faculty coming from outside, which is international faculty or international students, and slowing down of retail expansion because they are only taking higher brands like Lululemon or Anthropology, which is not for the average student.
So I'm Savannah Haney. I'm doing environmental, which includes activated space. This is impact on construction, the current landscape, sustainable features, resource management, event impact, care impact, and alternatives. So the livable environment, as the space becomes more activated, it will have impact on construction, pushing them more towards getting recycling or xeriscaping or anything like that that's more helpful towards the environment. The current landscape plan, there's not a whole lot about it, but it's all native plants. There's 150 different plants going in. The alternative opportunities, I know the previous group talked about the roof has a material to kind of reflect heat, but green roof is another great way to be environmentally friendly. And the 2-acre green space would be another place that you can put plants and different things that will help reduce the carbon footprint. The local resources, so they reused trees from different places and they move it around. Some of them, they're working completely around the construction. They repurposed some wood and brick, mainly in the George, and they're also using limestone. The resource management, like I said, they are reusing stuff, so they're being very, very resourceful with that. The education, the more outside events there are, the more that people will think about their environment and be like, oh, maybe I should recycle this, maybe I shouldn't leave this place a mess, what can I do back home to help the environment? They're also going to have a movable hay wall, and so there's opportunities again for recycling. For care, people don't like to have to do maintenance because it's more cost and more hassle, so they like to keep it low maintenance, which is why the native plants are really good for that. But they miss out on opportunities both in the environment, plant side of things, and the building when they do that.
I'm going to introduce the sensory part. It will include visual attractions and smell and taste facilities, sounds, and later on I'll talk about the negative influences. So our site is at the cross-section of University Drive and College Avenue. There are 67,000 vehicles passing through University Drive every day. So the most important visual attractions will be how to attract people into the site, both the people in the cars and the pedestrians. So the building facade is a very important part of the visual attraction. Gensler and some other award-winning architecture firms design with the nice facade of these buildings. And also along University Drive, there will be 3 main landscape site pathway that lead people into the site. These pathways are designed with special pavement as well as the 3 trees. And at night, it will be some nice lighting. So in the site, except the building themselves, and open space, public space are also very important visual attraction points. So the open space will separate into 2 parts. The yellow one is the linear space, and the red one is the squares. So in the linear space, the vehicle way will be built together with a sidewalk, but there will be no curb between them. So the special pavement will attract drivers' attention to slow down the traffic, to create a pedestrian-friendly site. And also in the plaza, there will be nice trees and nice comfortable sitting areas with shaded sitting areas. So this helps to keep people stay in the place. And also the signage and the lighting outside of the retails and restaurants could also help people to stay in a place. And when it comes to the smell and taste attractions, I think restaurant goes the first place. There are 4 restaurants outside of our site, and in the site there will be 200 square feet area for both restaurants and retails. So at this moment there will be 6 restaurants, and people can sit outside, have food outside. This will definitely attract people into the restaurant to buy more food. And plant materials are also important attractions for smells. And the flowers and trees, you can feel like it's a green space. And as for what things people can touch, I think the water features do a very important aspect of that. On the side, there are 5 water features. 3 of them are fountains. In these fountains, children would like to touch the water and feel the water. And there are 2 swimming pools in the 2 hotels separately. You can jump into the water to have fun. And also, plant materials are also important. You can touch a plant very safely, and you can feel the texture. And it's also very important for education purpose. And as to the sound attractions, I think the retail and restaurants play the most important part of it. So every day you can hear people talking, and you can hear the music from the retail and restaurants. And during the events, you can see thousands of people here, and the noise from the crowd is a really important sound attractions for you to feel like it's an active space. And also on site, the water features, the sound of flowing waters could also be the sound attractions. But on the site, there will still be some negative influence. Because we have around 0.7 mile frontage from the street side, and I think the traffic noise and the vehicle exhaust from College Avenue and University Drive will be a main problem. But the street trees along these two streets will help reduce the traffic noise and the exhaust. And on the side, I think the restaurants and some events will make some noise. So it will definitely influence the people living in the hotels as well as the people living in the apartments. And also the restaurants, both the on-site restaurants and the nearby restaurants, may cause the auto burn. And I think the trash have to be dealt very properly to reduce the auto burns. So let's pass back to Philip.
All right, so from the past points of this analysis and portfolio, we concluded that the Century Square development gains most of its edge from creating theming on the site that will impact the community in a way that draws in more students, more visitors, then also using its hospitality and retail to kind of latch onto an underserved market that's almost a niche market within College Station, projected for the next 40 years. Then using the environmental aspects of transplanting, better, more xeric plants, and water features, the site kind of pulls people in without requiring a lot of maintenance, but also the transplanted trees creates an established effect. Although it is lacking in green implementations overall, the site is pretty biophilic, especially with its 2 acres of event space. Then the sensory aspects is probably the most important, and though it is subjective, it will be determinate and repeat visitation. And you can tell that with the restaurants and all the importance that they're placing on putting that in first, draw people in, create a sense of area, and then people will continue to go there after the retail's in and the offices are in. And overall, its greatest competitive edge comes from being partnered with Texas A&M, especially on that access from Bonfire Memorial. It puts it dead center on Main and Main, and that's going to be the key part in overall. And that is our presentation.